cooking with. You guys know me. All right, it's sending, but will it send completely? You guys know the new system has been, all right, it's coming. It's here. It is here. It is beautiful. All right. We did it. We did it. What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. If you're in my time zone, it's still morning. It's still the AM. How you holding up? Did you have a good weekend? Did all of your dreams come true? These are the important questions. First of all, let me give a shout out to everyone who makes this show possible. First of all, our friends over at ZT.com, ZHITEA.com. Their tea kind of rules. Their tea's great, and you can get their tea wholesale now during the pandemic. They supply the tea to Get Your News On with Ron. I recommend the white peach Chinese black tea. It's phenomenal. I also recommend the raspberry pecan. It's a very refreshing tea, especially in the evenings. It's very nice. CT.com. Our friends over at triageoil.com, TRIAGE oil.com. Trendy Nay makes some amazing pain oil that you rub on your body. I use it on my neck, and it works wonders for my neck. It has done miracles, no joke, for my neck. If you got some scratches, some burns, I know sunburn season is kind of in the past for a lot of us. I live in California, so it's still going on for me. But, it works wonders. Or if you just have some joint pain, that's what I use it for. If you're thinking, Rob, what about some CBD that I can ingest, that I can put in my drink? I got you covered. Rare Naturals with an S, CBD.com. That's Rare Naturals with an S, CBD.com. They make the CBD oil. You can put it in your beverage. You can put a drop under your tongue. It soothes you. It relaxes you. It's good for your muscles after an intense workout. For a lot of people, it calms their anxiety. These are anxious times, folks. It helps you sleep. I kind of use it for all those things. After if my joints are feeling a little stiff or feeling a little worn, it makes me feel good. Sometimes I just want to unwind, unplug my mind for a little bit. It helps with that. And sometimes I'm like, I'm feeling a little antsy. I want to sleep. It helps with that too. So Rare Naturals with an S, CBD.com. Here's the best part. Use the promo code Lucy at checkout, LUCY, Lucy at checkout, and you get 30% off your order. Rare Naturals, CBD.com. So check it out. I know that the promo code was not working recently last week. Should it all be good now? If it's not, please email me. If you try to, I know some of you tried to log on and purchase some of your CBD oil and it backfired on you. The promo code said it was expired. That was a tech glitch. It should be back and running now. If you try it again and it's not working the way it should, please email me right away because it should be back and better than ever. All right. Having blabbered all that, I'm going to bring in my guest for today. So here, I got some bad news and good news this week. The bad news is, I'll do the bad news first. We're on a short week this week because tomorrow I'm going to be doing a virtual event with Central Michigan University. So there will be no live stream tomorrow. So no live stream tomorrow. We'll be back Wednesday, though. So that's the bad news. It's a short week. We're just going to have full streams Monday and Wednesday. Here's the good news. Some of my favorite people are on the show this week. On Wednesday, we got Tina Desiree. She's been covering a lot of protests. She's been kind of in some dangerous zones, really. And we're going to talk to her and we're going to hear some more about what she's been up to. And today we have one of my favorite comedians in all of Los Angeles. I love watching her on stage. She is phenomenal. She is so funny. And she has a lot of insight to share. She's a Palestinian comedian, actor, and writer. She has a very long resume of impressive stuff she's done, but she didn't want me to mention any of it, so I won't. But please welcome to the show for the first time, and I'm so excited to have her because I've been wanting to have her for a long time, Jennifer Jajeh. Jennifer, what's up?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
I am absolutely wonderful, and I'm so excited to talk to you. I already gave you the warning that there's going to be some Music Monday stories that we're going to jump into.
Right.
But first, I really, really want to talk to you and talk about your experience and how it kind of connects to everything that's going on in the world today. So you spent some time in Palestine. You lived there for a period of time. When were you there?
I lived there in 2000 and 2001. I showed up before I showed up like in this window of opportunity where they were like, there's going to be a declaration of a Palestinian state. We're going to have our own country. There was this like euphoric feeling. It was really excited. I was going to study Arabic. It was just this moment of like jubilance. And then within a really short window from like the summer till September, all of a sudden it went from like super light to totally dark with the Intifada breaking out and that being off the table in terms of the Palestinian state. And then it was like a year plus I stayed and like lived essentially. I mean, already was living under occupation. Like you were still under occupation in the beginning, but I wasn't experiencing like daily clashes and, you know, bombings and F-16s flying over my house until that like window, until that switch happened.
So break that down for me. I mean, what was the day-to-day like? And the reason I asked that, you know, I had a friend of mine, she was in Egypt when the revolution was happening. Mm-hmm. And it was just incredible because, you know, our media is so very much filtered and what they share around the world and the way they cover it. And so her email chain was my link to what was really going on there. And she was just basically journaling her experiences day to day and sending it to her close friends and family. So what was kind of the day to day like? I mean, what are some particulars that really stood out to you?
Well, it's a really strange reality. First of all, it depends where you live. There's a difference in being in Gaza versus being in the West Bank versus being in Ramallah, which is kind of a more modern, open town. That's where I was staying. That's my parents' hometown, but it's also like the capital-ish of the West Bank. It's a really cosmopolitan town. There's a ton of internationals there. There's a ton of NGOs there. There's all the UN. All these people are living there. So Ramallah has like nightclubs and bars and restaurants. And so when I first got there, it was like, oh, we can go sit in a cafe outside and like smoke a hookah and, you know, have a cocktail and hang out with our college friends. And that overnight completely shut down, and it became like curfew and everybody needed to be home by dark and everything was closed in the evenings and soldiers were patrolling the streets
Were they armed soldiers?
Yes. And then, you know, they would come in and, you know, do an incursion and leave. It's just so surreal because I don't know if you've never been there. It's really hard to understand that like it can be business as usual for a few hours during the day, but also that afternoon you could be having a coffee and a cigarette on your balcony and an F-16 could fly overhead and drop a bomb on your neighbor's house to like do a political assassination. So
wow.
It's kind of
that,
like,
I mean, geez.
Which did happen. Well, to me.
To your neighbor?
It was like 3 or 4 houses down. So yeah.
So how, I mean, did you feel the blast? I mean, how?
Yes, it feels like the entire, like, first of all, with something flying overhead that close, you're like, holy shit.
Right. You can curse on this show, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Curse all you want. Yeah.
Okay, we're doing it. We'll do it. I do curse a lot, actually.
That's fine. Yeah.
I'm trying to be better. But yeah, like the same thing happened to my sister. She lived in another part of town. It's like, oh, there's an explosion and this whole house just was like, went up, you know, they dropped a bomb on it and all of a sudden there's no house there and there's all this rubble and smoke and the whole city shakes. And
well, who was the they in this situation?
The Israelis. Okay. The Israelis. Yeah, like they're big fans of like political assassinations. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They just want to go in and wreak havoc. So things like of that nature happening that you're like, wait a second. You know, there was a curfew last week. Last night, everything was open and I went to a bar. Today, I'm sitting on my balcony and somebody's getting a political assassination. Or I'm going to be taking a taxi to school and the road will be closed by Israeli jeeps and there'll be a protest and kids will be throwing stones and soldiers will be shooting live ammo at kids or, you know, any sort of like you never knew what you were going to find. And it's this sense of like, I think the thing that was so difficult for me is that it was this ongoing sense of like being on shaky ground, like uncertainty, like everything seems normal today. Nothing is normal tonight. And the level of what abnormality can ensue was like just wonderfully, terribly, horrifically different every time. You were like, who knows what's going to happen next? So it's this very, and I feel like right now in pandemic, and with the current political climate, Americans have a sense of what that feels like what horrifying thing is going to fall out of the sky and drop onto us, and that we're going to have to deal with this week.
How do the day-to-days compare for you? Like how does it compare to like what we've been through the past couple months, especially when we were pretty much under martial law, more or less, compared to, you know, what you went through in Palestine? Like, how do those two things compare?
Well, fortunately, I mean, living in Palestine is Palestine and Israel, Palestine. It's an apartheid regime, so it's like your life. Really, you get the sense that your life as a Palestinian or as somebody affiliated with Palestinians, you know, if you were a foreigner living in the Palestinian territories, if you were even an Israeli living in the Palestinian territories, or a Jew, not like a settler, but like someone allied with the Palestinian cause, then you are expendable, and you really get the sense that like you can be taken out in any way, shape, or form at any time, and you're just like collateral damage. So the daily like humiliation of like, you're trying to go through a checkpoint. You can't, arbitrarily teenagers are going to decide that it's closed. They're turning you away. They're going to start, open fire. That this is, it's cruel in the sense that it is arbitrary and ceaseless, but comes in so many different forms that you can never anticipate it. And so I think that really does like makes humans very your nervous system is so firing on all cylinders at all times, and you don't know where the threat is coming from or what it can what form it can take. And I in some senses I feel like psychologically we're there, except we're not like an occupied country that is, that I don't know. Yeah, maybe Black Lives Matter. Like maybe some of the population feels like they're occupied and hunted. In some senses, there are parallels, but it's not the same magnitude.
Okay.
But the feeling is similar of like this kind of ongoing ennui, this kind of ongoing anxiety of like what might happen. And this sense of feeling somewhat powerless and in danger, I think, is similar.
Do you think we're going to get to that point where it's more of a parallel? Like, do you think we're going to reach? I mean, I would say like fascism is at our doorstep. I think that's fair to say at this point.
Yeah, I feel like that's a pretty accurate statement. I mean, with, Trump kind of, suggesting that he might just not leave office, and some sense that he can use the system or has manipulated the system or, people in the system to like take that on and like, prevent, not that Biden is any sort of hero in any sense of the word, because we'll get into that. But the fact that he feels this sort of like license to suggest that there may be no transition, that, he's obviously going to steal the election. I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, this is a no-brainer.
You think he's going to win?
I have a very bad feeling.
I think they're going to, I mean, and, this is just me being objective. I think they're going to suppress the vote just enough that he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, when you combine just the, whammy of, and I do not like Biden at all, but this has nothing to do with how I feel or don't feel about Joe Biden. When you combine the whammy of a bunch of people losing their homes and nothing is being done, combined with the fact that we're relying on voting on mail because of a pandemic, combining with the fact that they're already demonizing the Postal Service about all that, a Republican incumbent, I just don't see them going anywhere. I just don't. I think the vote's going to be suppressed just enough because the people who will be hit hardest by all of these issues that I just mentioned are poor people.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that people are delusional if they don't think we're going to jump into this huge economic crisis in any minute.
Yeah. Well, we're here. I mean, we're here. Like,
I feel like
there's food lines.
I don't know what your circles are like, but I feel like I still interact with enough people that kind of have this weird, like, well, it'll be okay. Things will go back to normal kind of vibe.
We need to share friends because I feel like I have the opposite thing going on where I have like, we needed a revolution yesterday to do the duopoly needs to crumble and there is no other option. And that's kind of where I'm at. So
yeah, no, these are not
I need some friends. Of those. We're going to be okay. These are people. Like
acquaintances. These are like people on the periphery of my life that I interact with that I feel like it gives me the sense that a lot of people are holding on to this false hope that like Biden's going to win and things are going to turn around and they're going to open things and then businesses will open and people will go back to school and things will become kind of normal and it'll be okay. And I'm like, whoa, where, give me some of that. Like, give me some of those drugs because that's
numb me. Just numb me.
Feeling at all. I mean, I'm like, I'm like, on the verge of panic attack / insomnia every day, being like, it's all gonna work. Like,
right. Well, Jennifer, you're on the right show. This is
right. This is the panic attack insomnia show.
You're amidst like-minded company right now because I think, I think that looking to the White House for any type of answer is just completely just delusion. Yes, yes. That was where I was getting to. Because it's like Joe Biden, even if and I don't think he's going to be the next president. And I'm even to the point because I refuse to just sugarcoat any of this anymore. I try really hard to not say the words if Biden wins, because that gives the delusion that this is actually a competition. It isn't. This isn't Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. This is Donald Trump versus himself. And unless Donald Trump shoots himself in the dick hard enough, that he beats himself, which because of this pandemic, he is capable of doing that. He might do that, but if he doesn't, he ain't going anywhere.
Okay, so what do you think he would have to do for that? Let's do hypotheticals. Like, what would he have to do to make that happen? What do you think?
Literally shoot himself in the dick on TikTok. No, I think.
I mean, I'd watch that.
He would have to well, first of all, the debates are going to be gruesome, and I think that Donald Trump
I'm not looking forward to that.
He is just going to bully he's just going to bully Joe Biden the entire time. That's all it's going to be. There's not going to be any substance. There will be no policy talk. It will just be Donald Trump bullying Joe Biden and Joe Biden just taking it because he can't handle it. And part of the reason he can't handle it is because for 40 years nobody's ever taken their gloves off with that guy for 40 freaking years. And nobody did in the primary. The few times anyone did, they got scolded for it, whether it was Kamala Harris or Bernie Sanders or anyone else. They got scolded for daring to take their gloves off with the establishment anointed one, Joe Biden, which, by the way, they anointed him last because they tried everybody else and it didn't freaking take. You want some? How about Pete? No. How about Beto? No. How about Warren? No. How about Warren again? Still no. All right, we're going to do this Joe-mentum thing, and we're shoving Biden down your throats because that's what the establishment will permit. What a choice.
What a choice.
What a choice.
I was like, come on, dudes. Really, it seems like the craziest. Like, they're like, let's go to Vegas and put all our money on one.
Well, it's by design. It's by design because when you really look at the way the establishment works, when it comes to the Democratic side, their first priority isn't winning. Their first priority is continuing the gravy train and continuing the status quo. So they'd rather lose with a Joe Biden than win with a Bernie Sanders. That's just the way they are. And I think that slowly more people are waking up to that. Not enough and not fast enough, but I think slowly it's happening.
This is the depressing, like, this is the right show for me. This is like the depressing reality sucks.
Well, no,
episode today. Probably every episode is this, but but today,
You're right.
Especially today.
I have a lot of optimism. It's just not in the White House, and it's not in electoral politics. It's not, I mean, it's in the grassroots. It's in the people protesting. It's in strike. I am the biggest general strike fan. Was that a dog? Did I hear a bark?
That is my dog. She will make an appearance. I forgot to warn you about that.
No, we are a very animal friendly show. Again, see, there's some joy here. There's some joy here.
It's like literally the only thing keeping me alive. like the only thing keeping me alive. And plants. I've become a complete crazy plant
Those
lady.
are very pretty plants, by the way. Very
Thank
pretty
you.
plants. For everyone listening to the podcast later, you can't see these very pretty plants, but they're very pretty beautiful plants behind Jennifer.
I spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of my time like not interacting with humans.
Well, these days we all are. So we're both comics. Would you consider yourself an introvert?
It's funny because I was talking to my therapist a few months ago, and I was like, I'm as an extrovert, and she was like, bitch, you are the biggest introvert I know. Like, you hate people. You're afraid of everything. What are you talking about? And I was like, oh, how dare you? And then I thought about it.
That's a good therapist, though. She's giving it to you straight.
Yeah, she does it. She pulls no punches. She's like, listen, this is.
Was that verbatim what she said? Was she literally like, bitch, you're an introvert? Like, that was actually.
She was, and it was like in the last 60 seconds of our call. And then I was like, and she was like, nope, your time is up. And just like hung up the Zoom. I was like, what in the world is this?
Give me her information. That sounds like a really great therapist.
She's fantastic, but she just makes you do homework. And she's very like compassionate, but she's also like, if you don't want to do the work, I don't have time for you. So she's awesome.
All right.
She will tell it like it is. I'm trying to get all my friends to go to her, but I feel like they can't handle the truth. So they're like, no, I can't. Why would
you can't handle this?
You can't handle the truth. I'm Palestinian. I can handle the truth. So, you've got to have a tough skin.
Sure. I mean, the reason I asked that question, I used to consider myself like an introvert's extrovert, if that makes sense. But
an introvert's extrovert? Yeah, an extrovert's introvert? I don't know. What does that mean?
An introvert's extrovert. I'm kind of an introvert, but it depends on, but I'm also like, well, I kind of like to put myself out there. And so like other introverts are like, that guy's an extrovert. But extroverts would be like, nah, he's a cool guy, but he's a little more, he's a one-on-one guy. One of my friends told me that, actually, one of my favorite comedians, a guy named Renan Hirschberg, he told me, he's like, you are a one-on-one guy. And I was like, I dig that. I accept that. Okay. He told me that years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I see that. But as this thing has gone on, even my wife said to me, she goes, you're not an introvert. She's like, you're not an introvert at all. You're actually a very extroverted guy. The fact that, I have had more I'm cracking moments than she has. And I always thought she was way more extroverted than me, but I'm just like, I need to see people. I need to be on stage. I need to see people. And yeah. So I'm not the introvert I thought I was.
I would say like, I've always been a weird, like I need a lot of alone time. And then I want to like be an extrovert, from 8 to midnight. And then but the rest of the time I want to like hide in my apartment and like hang out with plants and animals and journal and read a book and, lie on some grass and smoke some grass and, do these things. But I'm like, and then like I have hours of extrovert behavior and I enjoy it, but like, I'm not like, I'm not one of those people who can be like with people all day.
Well, what do you? All right. So getting back to the big theme of, oh man, we're doomed. Hopefully not. But what do you think?
That's the title of this episode.
We might be doomed, but hopefully not. Yeah. Well, where do you kind of find your hope, and what do you think needs to happen next?
I mean, what do I think needs to happen next?
Sure.
Jesus, what a question. I mean, if we can I'm very I'm trying not to go backwards. I'm for a minute I was really burned with the whole Bernie diss situation, and
I was too.
It was really hard for me to move past that. It was a really bad breakup, where people are like, get over it, stop talking about it. And you're like, no, he fucked me over, dude. He totally fucked me.
I got to the point where I said on this show and on other shows, I basically made a pledge where I was like, all of my because I canvassed for Bernie and I don't regret doing it. I'm glad I did it. But I kind of said after the whole experience was over, I was like, you know what? I only have so much bandwidth for direct action. And I think from now on, at least for a while, maybe it'll change eventually, I am going to be 100% direct action for causes and strikes and stuff like that, and initiatives and alliances. And I'm going to be 0% direct action for electoral politics. I'm not saying don't do that. People need to do it. There's a lot of grassroots candidates out there I want to see do well. There's a lot of people I'm excited about, but you know what? My direct action bandwidth is not going to be spent there, because when the candidate makes a decision or shits the bed or turns their back on you, you're just stuck. That's it. Whereas if you're working on a cause, it's all about that cause. And it's beyond the person. Yeah. It's about the cause. So I'm just like, you know what? And I've been on campaigns for net neutrality that I think when you measure it overall have been successful. We got some strong state bills. I was on a banned facial recognition campaign that has been largely successful overall. You're seeing it banned in more and more cities. Meanwhile, it's like whenever I put my eggs in the electoral politics basket, I just wind up, wow, it's Joe Biden versus Donald Trump.
Right. Totally. I mean, it's funny because I was talking about this with somebody the other day. I'm like, I grew up with parents who never voted. They were like, no one's ever going to do anything for the causes we believe in. So we don't care. It's not for us. We're gonna, that's just the way I was raised. And so I was raised going to protests, like pro-Palestine protests. And I remember
your parents were already there.
Yeah, as a kid, I was sitting on my parents' shoulders as they were going to pro-PLO protests and things. I just remember as a kid being like, do we have to spend our Saturday doing this? They were like, we'll get you ice cream after, just go. So I've always been, I'm Palestinian, I'm ride or die for free Palestine. That's the way it goes. I'm super hardcore for one state solution. There's no the gloves are off. This illusion that there's going to be a separate Palestinian state is completely ridiculous. And it is what is, mucking up the forward momentum in terms of resolving this issue. And so that's my issue. And it's unfortunate when you have an issue that is vilified and completely disregarded, or, the opposite agenda of most people in the mainstream political world. I mean, for Bernie just to be like, Palestinians are real and deserve to be considered human was that's not technically what he said, but, right. In a sense, the upshot of what he said, which was like, oh my God, thank you for considering us a real human beings who deserve or worthy of something, and it's
but that was deemed controversial.
And that was deemed controversial. That was he was
they tried to call Bernie. I think at one point they even tried to call Bernie an anti-Semite.
Right. Yeah, for sure. They were
the Jewish guy.
The old Jewish grandpa, they were like, yeah, you're an anti-Semite.
And that's so
bananas. Everybody's an anti-Semite.
And that's
ridiculous.
It's beyond ridiculous. And I know there are a lot of answers to this question, but why do you think it is so ridiculous here in the United States. I mean, it's such a ridiculous thesis where it's, well, if you criticize the right-wing Israeli government who is doing terrible things, you'll get labeled an anti-Semite. It makes zero sense on any. I mean, it's like I criticize what the American government does around the world. Am I anti-American too?
You
Like
know what?
that
Because
makes
it
no
works.
sense. It does work. It
It
does
works.
work.
I mean, it's like, who's the, why, what? It has, it's like they've created a dialogue and like a freeze around dialogue around Palestine and Israel. And they've created a complete, like, the propaganda of what actually is happening on the ground for decades has been completely false and a false narrative of, I mean, I remember growing up and people being like, why are Palestinians attacking Israelis? And you're like, oh, a country with the top military capabilities against people with like throwing stones with a few, like, you know, 70s Kalashnikov. like, oh, this is like, and it's framed as if these people are the aggressors and the terrorists. It's funny because this week there was this big controversy with Leila Khaled, who is the first. She was a member of the Palestinian National Congress. She was part of the PFLP in the 70s. She was the first female to hijack a plane. She hijacked several planes in the 70s. Her policy was to not hurt anyone, to literally reroute the planes for PR and for media attention, to reroute the planes to get, you know, press coverage, to say we're doing this because Palestinians are under occupation, because our country has been taken, because we are being, you know, we have the largest refugee population. We have no rights. We have no citizenship. Like, we have been dispossessed, and the world is considering us the aggressors. They did this campaign to do a really extreme action. And, you know, 70s is when people did things like wear a dress and hijack a plane. And she had, like, you know, she was like very well dressed with like a gun in her panties and stuff. It's like a super dramatic story. I'm like, whoa, how in the world? I guess in the 70s, if you wore like a proper outfit, you could, like, you know, sneak a gun in your underwear onto a plane.
I guess so. I've never tried it, but
I've never tried it either. But, you know, I actually ended up interviewing her in 2014, and she's a delightful lady. She's like, I want a free Palestine and a grandchild. Like, those are her aspirations. I'm like,
well, she has.
Yeah.
The goals are there.
The goals are there.
Very concise. Boom.
Very clear. But so she was invited to speak by San Francisco State University for a class, and they were going to host it on Zoom. She was doing a talk this week, and I guess the Zoom got a lot of, as Zionists were protesting, a lot of people were saying this woman's considered an international terrorist, but it's like, she's a free agent. She's not, you know, she's not in jail. She's a woman living in Jordan. She was freed in a prison swap, decades ago. And so there was like huge uproar to shut down, and Zoom bowed under the pressure and were like, no, we can't host this. This is against our terms of service. And so they moved to Facebook Live, and then they moved to YouTube, and each platform was like, it's against our terms of service, because they got extreme pressure from, you know, the right wing, even like from Zionists, from Israelis, from the right wing, saying this woman is a terrorist. You can't promote this kind of speech. And so it's like using jargon, using these, it's like they create this pressure and this narrative around it to prevent any voices that would present a contradictory narrative to come to the forefront. And this is what we've been dealing with for decades.
Well,
and
what
I
did
think
the university do? How did the university respond?
And, you know, this is really unfortunate. The university has not done anything. And that's what the professor and the department were like hoping the university would make a statement or come forward that, you know, these corporate these corporate entities can make a decision about what speech can be heard or can be like taught on campus. Like they have a lot of say especially in a time when we're reliant on that as our form of education right now. And so
that's a topic we cover a lot on this show. We talk about that a lot.
Yeah, and I think this week has been pretty wild in terms of like what's been going on regarding Palestine in the media or Palestine in like the popular culture, because Layla's talk was shut down, which was really unfortunate because she's really funny and brilliant. And then AOC was invited to do some sort of like Rabin commemoration BS, and she somehow got pitched to speak at this, and so the opposite side was like, no, we don't want you speaking at this man is a war criminal. And so she has decided, because of her pro-Palestine stance and her call for BDS, that she was not going to speak at this. So it's like we're living in this time where and it was funny because I read this like headline, and I think it was Haaretz or I don't know what it was, but it was like liberal Zionists, like AOC doesn't want to be your friend. It's like, she's not that into you. So it's kind of like this ongoing, like, this is a moment finally in history where a politician is unafraid, because she's, I'm sure, getting a lot of flack for she's being heavily courted by pro-Israel forces, by Zionist forces, by, to kind of like co-opt her into participating in events or things that will then kind of move her a little bit, center on the issue of Palestine. And luckily she's like listening to her folks and and being educated and doing a lot of research about things and finding out like, hey, like, okay, this is kind of against my position. I was pitched this differently. I'm not gonna succumb. So one politician, I'm hopeful that one mainstream politician.
Ilhan Omar, she has said some things.
Ilhan Omar has said some things. Of course, Rashida Tlaib has said some things. There is some movement in the Palestine discussion where it's like, baby steps are opening up, but they're still considered super radical and off their rockers by like the rest of the government. Well,
and words, I hate to be like curmudgeon-y cynic again over here, but it's I'm also at the point where it's words are just words. I have gotten to the point, I do not follow politicians on Twitter. I do not like or retweet anything they say, because I was so freaking tired of all these straight up condescending tweets. Like, what would you do for an extra $2,000 a month? What would you, if you had an extra $2,000 a month, what could you do with it? Think of all the things you could do with it. Well, that's what we need. And they're fighting for all these, they're quote, fighting for all these relief packages that never frickin' happened. What did happen? These fake stimulus bills that were just giveaways to Wall Street and the big banks, because in reality, our government is a straight up corporate coup. That's not embellishment. That's literally what it is. So I got so sick of all these politicians, even politicians that are considered on the left, that were just tweeting these appeasing bills that they're not actually fighting for. And I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if you go into the government and you find out there's some ministry of appeasement that times out these tweets to make you entertain the fantasy that they're actually sticking up for something. And I'm just like, you know what? Every time a politician tweets, no matter where they're at on the spectrum, it doesn't matter. It should just be ratioed of people saying, well, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? Are you doing anything or just tweeting nice things? If you're just tweeting nice things, I'm fucking sick of it.
Yeah, we should. I mean, at this point, I'm like, if they don't come up with something, they're not going to. They don't have any interest. There's no incentive.
They have
for
no
them
interest
to come up with anything. What are they going? And what are they going to do? Just keep shoveling money at? And then what? Like, they're not changing any of the core policies. There's no like movement towards any long-term relief, even if they gave everybody $2,000. And then what? Like, we still have no healthcare reform. We still have student debt. Right. We still have all of the same issues, race issues, social issues that we had before. So wow. I mean, yes, not to say that 2000 wouldn't go a long way for some people, but at the same time, it's like, there is no interest. I guess you asked me half an hour ago what I would do or where I was at or what I feel hopeful about. And it's like, I don't know at this point. I have a lot of conversations I do have one or two friends, very few, a couple of people who are like, let's work, you can work within the system. Like, this is what we have, work within it. Why are you always you're always wanting to upend the system or, just pretty much tear everything down or, but it's like, does anything ever fucking get done within the system?
Not federally. I mean, if you're going to say, let's work within the system, not like you, but like the hypothetical world you or whatever,
right.
Start in your backyard. Start in your freaking backyard. That's what it means to really work within the system and to get things done within the system. You want to do that, that's fine. But start in your backyard. Don't just show up every 4 years to make a choice between, fascism or fascism light and pat yourself on the back. Start in your freaking backyard. You want to work within the system? That's how you do it. I mean, that's what I think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot of high hopes for where we're going. I don't know if personally, I don't have a lot of high hopes for the next phase of this
experiment,
of this reality show. It's next season on fascism coming to your back door. Yeah, I mean, I think
there's brain-eating fungi in the water in Texas.
What is that? What is that? I didn't even read it. I was like, I can't. And next, of course, Texas. Yes, I was like, there's no water in Flint. There's brain-eating. Like, no water is now off.
We got some water issues here in California. They might privatize all of it. Wall Street's getting into the water trading game now. It's getting a little crazy.
I mean, I've been thinking, like, where can I start my, like, I've been talking to people, like, can we start our own little community somewhere and just drop out? Like, it was funny because before this all happened, I was like, I'm burned out on LA. I'm so burned out. The LA comedy scene is the LA comedy scene. And
I miss it though. I
mean, you miss it now that you didn't have it. I don't know. Maybe you were like more into it than I was, like more.
I don't think so.
Optimistic about the opportunities than I was, but it's funny because people were always like, "Dude, just like you're funny, just be less political and like you go farther." I was like, "Wow, that's your take? Like that's your fucking take?" That's bananas.
I got that advice, back in my road comedy days, but. Yeah. In LA, and I don't know, maybe it's just like where I show up to, but no one's bothered, like I've never really. And if I got that advice now, I would just ignore it.
No.
I ignored
like
it then.
Management people and like industry people who were like, just talk about dating.
Just talk about dating.
And you're like, cool, I'll talk about dating Jews. They're like, that's not what we're talking about. That's mean.
You had a manager tell you be less political?
Yeah.
Their job, well, all right. Anyway,
I mean,
too insider baseball, but
okay. We now have a third guest in the show.
Yes.
Luna is here.
Hi, Luna.
Luna is now
beautiful dog.
She just wants to cuddle. Like that's all.
That's
She's
good.
like, it's cuddle time. I don't know what you're doing. Who are you talking to? I don't see anybody there.
Usually, my cat will occasionally make appearances, Lucy, but she's asleep over on her cat tree in the corner right now. You can't see her, but I won't bother her.
I also have a cat.
Nice.
She probably won't make an appearance because dogs and cats don't really get along.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, I know. When I was like, you know what? My cat's so lonely. I'm going to get a dog. And I was like, wait, I just created my own Israel Palestine in my own home. Like, wow. It's like recreating the trauma you experienced.
So, well, let's go. Since we kind of transitioned into comedy and the show business in which we both participate in, we'll go to a little bit of Music Monday stuff people were sending me. So Ken sent me this. It might be the case the way we play live music will change. So Mogwai are one of the first bands to cancel a major tour in 2021. Now, so let's reel this in a little bit. They're canceling shows in February, which I think it's fair to say that big shows will not be back come February.
Agreed.
When do you think? So I think, well, I'll just say what I think first, and then I'll turn it over to you. I think that live performance, a fair amount of live performance will be back in 2021. I would guess by the summer or fall. But I think everything, like the big arena stuff, we might be looking at 2022, potentially also summer, fall of 2021. But I think that like club stuff, you know, rock clubby stuff, 500 and under, I think that will be back summer, fall of 2021. What do you think?
I mean, that's what they're saying. They're saying that's the soonest. I mean, you know, I've been really resistant. I don't want to do live comedy Zoom shows like that.
You don't do Zoom shows?
I don't. I'm sorry.
It's better than nothing.
I know I've been turning down all these Zoom shows and now people don't ask me anymore. So I'm like, oh,
I'm gonna ask you and you're gonna have to turn me down. I'm gonna ask you to do a Zoom show.
It just seems so sad. I don't know.
Why?
Is it fun? Is it funny? Or is it just like, I'm talking to myself? Like,
no, because people can laugh. You can see people and they can laugh. I mean, I've had some better experiences than others, just like real stand-up.
Yeah.
Is it the same as being there physically? Absolutely not.
No.
But is it better than nothing? Yeah, I would say it's infinitely better than nothing. I've been doing Zoom shows since the pandemic has happened. I actually have a college Zoom show tomorrow.
Wow.
Which that'll be my first college this year.
It's like a college gig on Zoom.
Yeah, a college gig on Zoom. Yeah, I'm doing Central Michigan University, but it's just their students. Like I'm not traveling there.
Right. Of course.
You know, which hey, I miss touring so much, but I don't miss the physical traveling part. That I don't miss.
I mean, it's harder. It's hard on your psyche and your body and everything.
Totally.
So yeah, that definitely. I mean, I will say this. I really resisted. I was like, no, this is bananas. You know, in the beginning, I'm not into it. I don't want to do live shows. But I've started to watch shows and I've started to see what people are doing. And I definitely think I would rather than do like a comedy show. I'm looking at like doing like maybe a one-person show, like a monologue kind of thing. I've done that in the past. I had a one-woman show. I toured for 5 years. So I kind of feel like the technology lends itself to that kind of thing more so than the, you know, comedy sets in my mind, in my experience from what I've watched. It definitely feels like that makes more sense. So I've been riffing on some ideas. I'm playing with some stuff, and I think, you know, part of me is like, dude, it's online. Just like throw a whole bunch of shit against the wall and see what sticks. Like it's like almost like free workshopping. Like
it really is
to like workshop a ton of stuff with a live audience and see what you like, what they like, what works. So I'm kind of thinking of it now as like, because I agree with you. I don't think we're going to be back in any sort of venues until late 2021.
That's what I think too.
Be the soonest. And that's a lot of ifs. That's like, you know, whatever this vaccine, whatever like mutation,
whatever it is and whenever it is. Yeah. I mean, we don't know exactly.
And does it work? And are people going to take it? And, you know, there's still all of, and are we, you know, going to be living under a dictatorship at that point where comedy is outlawed? Who knows?
Right. No kidding.
Dissent is outlawed.
Well, I'll say this too about the Zoom thing, and then you're kind of, there's things that you can do to adapt to a medium, just like anywhere else. I mean, you know, if you're at a comedy show and it's a 300 capacity venue and there's 5 people there, you adapt to that. You have to kind of acknowledge that and adapt to it and kind of bring them in and still make it a show. If you're playing a rough bar gig, you have to adapt to that. if you play a show where they refuse to turn off the football game, been there, you have to adapt to that. So it's kind of like, it's just another, media, like format issue where it's like, there's ways you can adapt to it. There's ways you can utilize the format, and, you just kind of learn to make the most of it, I think. And it's, it's going to be, I did get to do live comedy, the real thing, a little while ago at a baseball stadium.
Really?
There's a comedy. It's in Lake Elsinore, California. It's all outdoors. They seat people 12 feet apart. Everyone's masked up, and the mic's sanitized. But there's only 3 comics. The mic's sanitized in between each comic, and they do a show at a baseball stadium. So it's like, it's like there were about 10 or so people there scattered about through a baseball stadium.
10 audience members?
Well, I don't remember the exact number, but there was like a handful, because they had to limit it. They couldn't have a ton of people. Like, so
it's a huge stadium, yeah.
Yes, but they had like a stage set up in like the outdoor. You know how like the stands, like there's like vendors. There was basically a stage set up in like an outdoor baseball stadium, so that like they weren't really projecting it or anything like that. So the people had to sit, but the people were spread out all throughout that stand. So nobody was close.
How was the experience for you as a performer?
8 months ago, it would have been a hell gig that I never would have accepted in a million years. But right now, it was, there were almost tears of joy after my set.
Yeah.
Just to be able to see other people. Wow. And the laughs were muffled, and because people had freaking masks on. They were scattered about. They were, but people were really enjoying the fact that they were just out of their house, feeling a little bit of normalcy. And the comics, we were having an amazing freaking time. And
I have to say, when we go back to being on a stage, like people are going to be, I feel like you're going to have the best sets of your life, because people are just going to be like so happy.
You're never going to take it for granted again.
Like, so happy to be there. You're going to be so happy to be there, to have an open dialogue. I think that's what is so difficult and crazy about this time. It's like, as if like our ability to, first of all, our ability to reach people, obviously, if you're controversial, can be like curtailed by these outside forces, these corporate entities, these organizations who host these things. So it's like, what can be said is already limited, but your ability to like affect change and interact with people and have those dialogues, because I feel like when I'm doing stand-up, that's what I'm doing. I'm like telling you what I think about shit, and like why I'm so passionate about certain things, and what, those things are. And so it's like that kind of give and take and exchange is like out the window. Even, I guess on some level you can have that with Zoom, but there's nothing like a real interpersonal interaction that I think affects people and gives people a sense of like, oh, this is a different perspective. And I feel like our inability to do that is like really mucking up the ability to like have these intense dialogues and this like really kind of earth-changing interactions, or just fucking funny interactions that like make people feel good and feel joyful, or, it's like, it's really hard not to be participating in that. I think for me.
I'm with you. Yeah. It hurts. I just feel like a part of me is just missing right now. And, again, even though I will say the Zoom shows are better than nothing, they are not the same thing. And it's like, it's just a piece of me is just on hold right now. And it hurts. It's like a very bad breakup, but it's like, you're not broken up. It's almost like I don't know, like this is the 40s and your lover went off to war or something, and you don't know when they're coming back, and you don't even get any letters. You're just guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe you don't relate to that. I don't know.
I feel like it's this we're in this liminal space where we're just like, it's almost like unprecedented. This generation has never experienced anything like this. And we don't know what to expect or when it's coming or what it's going to look like. And, it's just a really intense time. I'm sure there's like a ton of drug use and mental breakdowns happening right now. I can't even imagine.
Oh, it's happening.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yeah, it is happening.
It's happening all over. I don't know when the last time I slept through the night was. Like I get insomnia. That's
Oh,
mine.
really? Oh, see,
Yeah.
I sleep okay. What about, I mean, aren't there any indicas that can help you with that?
Man, I tried it all. I've tried
Really?
it all. I definitely I'm on the, I just kind of like have succumbed to this, like, I'm at this weird Zen place where I'm like, 5 hours of solid sleep is like amazing if that happens. Like if I get 5 hours of sleep, that's a good night.
See, if I get a 6 spot, I'm good. And that's all I need. And I don't really, I find sleep, I hate saying this because it sounds kind of, like, but I don't like sleep. Like I don't.
You're one of those people. Come on.
Yeah, I am. I know. I feel bad. I hate being one of those people. But I am one of those people where it's like, and I know that, the Hollywood type where it's like sleep bores me. It's like, what are you talking? Does drinking water bore you too? Does breathing air bore you?
Yeah, no.
So like,
I'm a fan of
not
sleep.
trying to be that guy. But it is true for me. I don't care for it that. I do it because I have to, but I don't. Like, I'm glad when it's over. I like being awake.
No, I'm not. I am not of that mindset. I'm like, please give me 8 to 9 hours of sleep and let me. I just like I can spend
so much time.
It's what? It's too much.
It's a lot of time.
I have to be up scrolling Twitter and finding out what horrifying thing is happening in the world today.
Now you're speaking my language.
Like, forget the comfort and safety of a warm, soft bed.
I need a little danger. That's what I need.
You're living on the edge over there, Ron. Living on the edge.
No, and my wife's the total opposite. She like tallies her hours. And it's like, I mean, sometimes we even have disagreements about it. Like she'll, she's like, well, if I don't go to bed now, I'm not going to get enough because I have to wake up at this time. And I remember one time I just looked at her and I was just like, hey, baby, you know a sentence that's never been said ever in the history of the world? Hey, I moved out to Los Angeles so I could get plenty of sleep. No one's ever said that. I have a dream. I'm moving out to LA so I can I'm going to get plenty of rest. No one's ever said that, Jennifer. Nobody.
You have to be awake right now to deal with like what is there to be awake for right now?
Well, that's fair.
Is there to be awake for?
We had this conversation before the pandemic. I made that point before the pandemic, but it's still, I think it still holds true. There's still a lot to be awake for.
You better go hustle all your Zoom comedy shows.
I am going to get you to agree to a Zoom show.
I'm just going to be a curmudgeon about it the whole time.
That's fine. You can do whatever you want for your set, but I am going to keep nagging you. I'm going to have more Zoom shows just so I can try to book you for one.
I've jumped on a few Zoom comedy shows lately just because I was like, why am I being such a dick? Like, let me see what's going on. And then, of course, I watched them and I was like, oh, this is painful. Like, not the performances necessarily, but like the audience situation just feels like, oof.
Why? I mean,
it's rough, man.
You have to wait a little bit because there's like a little bit of a delay. So you have to wait just a little bit for your laughs. But they're still there. I mean, yeah. It's not this. I'm not going to pretend it's the same. It's not, but it's way better than nothing at all.
When you rehearse your sets at home, it kind of feels like that's what a Zoom show is like where you're rehearsing in the mirror or something, and you're like, where is like?
It's better than that. It's better than that.
All right.
Well, I've rehearsed a lot of sets to the cat. It is better than, and she's a rough audience, man. She does not give me many laughs.
Yeah, the cat don't give a shit about nothing.
So I want to go here really quick. Here's another. This is Tim's tweet. Thanks, Tim, for sharing this. So this picture went viral. This is Johnny Rotten, a.k.a. John Lydon, singer of the Sex Pistols. Wow. He's a big Trumper. And this picture went viral, and this person shared it first. This person, Connor, 10-year-old me is absolutely gutted that this is what his hero turned into. John Lydon about his punk as a game of golf. Big fucking poser, says Connor. And Tim said, ouch, this one's burned. So here's the thing. It's not new that John Lydon is a big right-winger. Like we've known this for years. He's been pro-Trump for a while now. It's just resurfaced because this picture of him went viral. I personally have never been a Pistols guy. I'm more of a Clash guy. I always have been. I always will be. I've never cared for the Sex Pistols. If you like the Sex Pistols music, and Pill, I've never understood. I have friends that have tried so hard to get me into Pill. They tried to get me to go to the Pill show the last time they played the Hollywood Bowl. I had no interest. They were like, why not? I was like, well, I don't enjoy their music. That's a big why not. I have no desire to see Johnny Rotten live. I don't care. I never really cared for the Sex Pistols. I thought they were basically just the monkeys of punk rock. I don't care. It's just not my cup of tea. I mean, they just are. That's what they were.
That's a take.
Well, that's what they were. I mean, that's what they were. They were created. They were. I mean, they have a credit card, for crying out loud. You can get a Sex Pistols credit card.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that happened years ago. So, and some people like their sound, and that's great. But for me, it wasn't my cup of tea musically. Will always be a Clash guy in comparison. And so I just don't like, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go see. My friend would keep sending me Pill songs. She would keep I was like, nothing's going to change. She's like, well, what about this one? I'm like, yeah, it's still,
if you don't like it, you don't like it.
I just don't get it. And maybe it's me. I don't know, but not my cup of tea. So, so John Lydon's Donald Trumpness does not surprise nor bother me. I'm just like, whatever, not surprised.
Who's Donald Trumpness surprised or bothered you? Like, was there anyone?
I love that question. Are we talking music?
And you sure?
Well,
or even any celebrity, any sort of.
Well, I mean, I don't
think anyone. I don't know who's Donald.
No one surprised me. So yeah,
no one surprised you.
Kid Rock didn't surprise me. Kanye West didn't surprise me. No one surprised me. So I got nothing there. As far as musicians go, and I don't know if he's pro-Trump. I think he probably isn't, but I don't know for sure. But politically, the musician that I would say as of recent kind of hurts is Morrissey. Because
Morrissey has had bad politics for a long fucking time. Nobody is surprised by this.
But it's gotten to a very rough place. It's gotten to a very rough place. You're right, he has, and that's fair. But it's really. I have
to say Palestine is the litmus test, because all of these motherfuckers have been like ignoring the BDS call, like don't give a shit about Palestine. That's like the first time we see their bad politics emerge. And then they continue to like display bad politics, and then the white people are surprised, and we're like, we fucking told you this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Like,
well, when it comes to Morrissey, call me surprised white guy. You can
color me surprised white guy.
I'm surprised white guy. But no, he's had some very questionable things that he said over the years.
Sketchy as fuck, dude. He's been like sketchy for years.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt so many times. I'm like, no, he's just being metaphorical, and he's not choosing his words carefully. But then now it's like, okay, yeah, but here's the thing. If you're gonna say, well, I'm just trying to enjoy the Smiths music. All right. Well, what about Johnny Marr? Johnny Marr, every bit as much the Smiths as Morrissey, every single bit. And he has really good politics. So
do you
Johnny
believe
Marr.
You can't listen to any? Are you of the mindset that like you can't participate in any culture if the person has problematic politics?
No, it just
taints it. It makes it
just taints it. Yeah. I mean, I'm not one of those people where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go burn my Smith CDs now or anything like that. Again, because you have to look at the entire band. So it's really unfair to just say. I
enjoy a Smiths song now and then when I feel like I want to lie down and cry about something.
See, I would argue the Smiths are very funny. There's another side to them.
There is a funniness going on. There is, yes, but it's also like terribly depressing and funny.
Some of it. Yeah. Well, that could be a whole other episode.
That is a whole other episode that we are not going to.
No, I enjoy their music a lot, and I enjoy a lot of Morrissey's solo stuff. I love, and it's funny. So friends of mine really wanted to go see him the last time he came to LA. I didn't want to go, and I was like, dude, he's said some crazy, ridiculous stuff. Right. I've looked at the set lists online. I'm that guy, Jennifer. I looked at some of the set lists online.
Like,
yes, okay. Of course I did.
You're like, is it worth it? Can
yes.
I? Wow, you're really that into Morrissey. Okay.
And I was like, I can't, like, I wasn't impressed by the set list at all. But my friends really, really wanted to go. And you know, we had a few drinks and we were like, let's just grab a lift and let's just go. And, you know, they lived in the neighborhood of the Hollywood Bowl too. So they're like, we'll just go to our place and we can hear. I'm like, all right, let's go. Okay. They had never seen him before. I've seen him like 2 or 3 times. So I didn't care. But I was like, okay, I'm going to go with my friends, whatever. So we get there. People are leaving the show in droves. And so we stop somebody. And by the way, I had said before, and I literally said this, Jennifer, I kid you not, when they were trying to push for the Morrissey show and I wasn't that into the idea, I was like, guys, we should just all agree that when Johnny Marr comes to town, we're getting tickets day one. Because Johnny Marr, he like doesn't sell out a lot of places in the United States, but in Los Angeles, he sells out the second they go on sale. Probably because they know how good him and his band is here. But anyway. So I was like, let's just go see Johnny Marr. Half of Johnny Marr's set, at least half of it, is all Smith songs anyway. I've seen Johnny Marr before, and it's he does a phenomenal job. He has no business singing, but when he's playing Smith songs, the entire audience is screaming at the top of their lungs every single note anyway. It doesn't matter who. They don't even need a singer. They could just play the music, and the audience just screams. So it's like, whatever. But we get to the Morrissey show. People are leaving in droves. Finally, we flag somebody down and we go, hey, why is everyone leaving? And they go, well, he's been playing like nothing old from Morrissey even. He's been playing no Smith songs. And at one point, he could tell the audience was a little not into it. So he just goes, if you want to hear Smith songs, go to a Johnny Marr show. And the audience just said, duly noted. And some of them left.
I mean... As a performer, though, I get it's this weird thing when people want to sing your old material all the time and you're like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. Like, that's old. So I get that, but I feel like at some point you just have to succumb to the reality when you're like a famous person that's why people like you.
But he's always done a mix in the past. I mean, he's even celebrated it. He said, like, I like to play some Smith songs because those were beautiful songs. I'm proud of them and I enjoy it. And he would mix it up. He would play different Smith songs. So I think there's also a certain amount of he's just really angry about, you know, so many people that he's really turned off. Because, I mean, so much of, his political takes as of recent, which I would say have reached a new height of what the hell, dude.
Like, what has he done recently? I don't even know. I don't track anymore.
He's part of that very far right party in Britain that are just straight up nationalists.
Right.
They're just straight up nationalists. It's not, you know, and I know that, like, Brexit was not just a left-right issue. There were some complexities there that I don't know enough to speak to, but I know that they existed. But he went way beyond that. I mean, he went to, you know, just straight up nationalism. And he said some very incredibly racist things that you can't really sugarcoat. And it's just, it goes so against what the Smiths were all about and what he was all about for so long. I mean, especially here in Southern California where we live. I mean, he is so beloved by the Latino community here. So beloved. Yes. They love him.
Oh my God, yes.
and so for him to say these things, it's like, are you kidding me? Like what are you doing?
I mean, I guess you like assume that performers and like artists and creative people are going to be left leaning because of just the sense of like, you know, I feel like that's the general assumption. And then every time they're not, you're like, what the fuck? Like people are shocked by it. And so I don't know why, like, I just don't even care anymore. I'm like, yep, that person's a racist. Got it. Check. Done. And like, it's not that I don't like what, oh, the cat is coming into the,
yes,
cat is, there will be multiple animals here today on the show. I mean, like Kanye's lost his goddamn mind. Clearly the man has serious mental problems and like,
I don't
understand why nobody is like, that's a whole other situation. But I mean, but has anybody really cool been like a white nationalist or pro-Trump or super right-wing? I mean, Morrissey, I guess, was kind of cool in some senses, but like, it's not like these are
Some
people
of us
that you're
enjoyed
like,
it.
but it's not. Oh, I'm being like mauled by many animals right now.
You know what? They're sticking up for Morrissey. They're like, hey, he's still got our back.
They're like, he's still
got he's still got our back. To answer your question, I would say Billy Corgan was a little bit of a surprise. Maybe.
Yeah.
Could we say Billy Corgan? I mean, I was surprised he was pro-Trump.
Yeah, that actually, yes. Yeah, that's pretty okay.
He's an insanely intelligent dude.
Yeah.
But or at least he comes across this way. I mean, he's a very smart guy, but when you hear him talk about Trump, it's kind of just, it's almost like he's trying to justify it to himself.
Oh my God,
and it's like, well, why do you want to support this guy?
Being overtaken.
This is beautiful. What's the cat's name?
Bianca.
Bianca, you're a beautiful cat with a beautiful, beautiful fur. That's a beautiful coat.
She's a torchy. Yeah, she's cute. I mean, both of my pets were like pets animals that were like abandoned that nobody wanted. And I'm
she's like, here's my coat and here's my asshole. What's up? Yeah. What's up? Get your news on with Ron.
She just wants to rub herself against the trees. So.
Love it. Does she behave towards the plants? Because my cat will eat all plants.
No, she loves to piss in them. That's one of her favorites. She does. She likes to piss in the plants as well as the bathtub when she's like protesting her conditions.
Yeah, she's telling you she's mad.
Yeah, that's her. And then then she also tries to eat some of the plants, but for the most part, she just rubs up against them unless she's like mad about something, and then she leaves behind the messages.
She might get a buzz from it, maybe.
Maybe you think
there's some plants. Well, I know that I think pine water can make cats drunk. Like it has the effect of like making them drunk, and because when I was a kid and we would have the Christmas tree. You know, we would cut down the tree in Pennsylvania where I grew up. We'd go to this tree farm in Pennsylvania, cut down the tree, and we'd put it in this, like in like a stand or whatever, and we'd water it. And our cat growing up would always just drink all the pine water. And yeah, we looked it up, and like apparently it has like an effect that can make them. Yeah, like it does something for them. It gives them like a drunk. So I don't know if like other plants can do that as well. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously catnip does, but
she loves the nip. She's a fan of the nip.
Oh, so does Lucy. Yeah, Lucy always gets the catnip, and yeah, it's a fun time. But I
actually tried to smoke catnip once.
Did you? Why?
In college, you know, it was like a weird, like, let's just see what it does. And then we're like, it does nothing. Why are we smoking catnip out of a bong? This is bananas.
What you do is you give the catnip to your cat and you smoke something else. And then you have a special experience together.
It's like when you, all this weird urban legends, like you can get high off nutmeg and stuff. I feel like when you're like 17 and you're bored, you're always like, yeah, let's see if we can get high off nutmeg. I don't know. Was I the only person doing that?
No, you weren't. So there's this certain type of Italian licorice where if you eat too much of it and you're not used to it, you can get a buzz like you're stoned. And yeah, and I actually didn't know this. But I took a big, like friends of ours went to Italy. They came back. They brought us this licorice, and I took a big chunk of it as if it was a Twizzler, and I ate it. And it was right before I had High School Musical practice, and I was really out of it. And all my friends thought I was high. They were like, "Ron's high," and I just went along with that because I'm like, I'm not going to tell them it was licorice.
No.
and then later, I found out online that was actually what it was. I just had too much licorice. You know, just really went too heavy on the licorice.
Yeah, you gotta keep your street cred on that.
I never fessed up that it was actually not. No. I was kind of stoned per se, but it was off of licorice.
Didn't some dude die from eating too much black licorice this week? I read an article about that.
Wow. Now I feel terrible bringing up that story. Yeah, I didn't know that. Sorry. I did not know that, and I'm very sorry. I
read that somewhere, and I was like, God, I've been having all these black licorice cravings lately. Like, I'm like, what is this?
Well, if it's the Italian kind, be careful. If you get it from Italy, be careful.
Yeah,
it can make you stoned.
You think it's a death wish, but it's really you're just trying to fucking escape and get high. Who knew? Who knew?
So, did anyone surprise you? Were there any pro-Trump musicians who surprised you? I mean, I feel like Billy Corgan's all I got. I can't think of anyone else.
I mean, I don't really know who's pro. Like, no. I feel like nobody that I like is pro-Trump. Yeah, Billy Corgan, I didn't really even know.
Let me ask you a fun one. Is there someone where you just do not like their music, but you appreciate their politics, and you're like, okay, cool?
Huh.
Because I got one of those.
Who? They give me time. I don't know.
Dave Matthews.
Oh my God, Dave Matthews' music is terrible. Yes, he has.
I don't get it.
Politics.
I don't get it. Yeah, he does. And he's actually, I get the vibe, and I say this because I used to live in the same neighborhood.
What? Dave Matthews has good politics?
I would say, yeah, he did a lot for Bernie.
I have no idea. I don't even know.
He did a lot for Bernie. He's all about, he's been really outspoken for farmers and, like just our food culture. And yeah, I would say, at least what I know about, he has good politics. I mean, maybe there's some stuff I don't know about, but from what I know, like he has good politics. I mean, Kim Gordon has good politics, but I've always been a Sonic Youth fan, so I'm all about that. And I've read her book; she's phenomenal.
She's awesome.
Yeah, Kim Gordon's amazing. I think my musician ticket was Killer Mike Kim Gordon.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whichever one's president, vice president. It doesn't matter, but that's my ticket.
Yeah.
Kim Gordon, Killer Mike.
We'll take it. Yeah, I mean, it's not. I feel like there are people who I like more. Now that they're like, when people are outspoken, I'm like, oh, now I like them more, like Mark Ruffalo or, people that I like was like, oh, they're kind of cool, but I never had a huge attachment to. But then when I like follow their politics online, I'm like, John Cusack's cool, pretty cool sometimes. Like, whereas like, I was like, who's John Cusack? That guy from the 80s. I don't care. Like, I mean, whatever, like I had no attachment.
Danny DeVito is really solid.
Wow.
Yeah, like Danny DeVito's pretty solid.
Damn, good for him.
Susan, I like Susan Sarandon. I think she's really solid. I like Susan Sarandon. Yeah, I know that's controversial.
That's so controversial.
So controversial to like Susan Sarandon because she's so powerful.
Right.
She's so powerful. She's about to throw the next election too. Yeah.
Single-handedly.
She's getting ready to throw the next one. She's gonna,
she's not saying shit. She's like, I'm staying out of this. There's
she hasn't. She hasn't stayed out of it, which I applaud her. Why should she stay out of it? I mean,
I don't know why. Yeah, why they think Susan Sarandon is the all-powerful Susan Sarandon.
Yeah, I mean, and she's and who else do I think has pretty good? I mean, there's probably a bunch of people I'm forgetting that I'll remember like the second we log off of this thing. But But yeah, I would say the one where it's like, I don't care for his music at all, but I appreciate his politics is Dave Matthews. That's someone that comes to mind for me.
I mean, I would say that is a big, I can concur on both. If you're telling me that he has good politics and it's Dave Matthews, I can agree wholeheartedly.
Based on what I know, based on what I know. There might be something I'm missing, but based on what I know, he has pretty good. But I know people love it. I get it. I can't get into it. What do you like, Jennifer?
It's also like fish, like things like that you're like, what? Who in the world likes these
I don't
things?
Get that.
Like, what? I had an ex-boyfriend who's like obsessed with fish. And like every time we'd get in the car, I was like, you're killing me. Like this is literally killing me. Any sort of love I have for you.
What do you like to listen to? Because I feel like, you're like, well, Smith's not really my bag. You're like, Dave Matthews.
I like the Smiths. I don't like Dave Matthews. No,
all right.
I'm not a Dave Matthews fan.
Well, what is your bag?
I'm not like a huge music consumer, honestly.
All right.
I'm just not. It's not my thing. I'm definitely more of like watching more like performance than like like live performance than music.
Okay.
Like comedy or soloist or one person show stuff. Like that's more of like what I'm watching. This is devolved into like the craziest. Like we're like start out about talking about the politics.
It's Music Monday. You gotta mix it up a little bit.
You
it's
didn't
Music
tell
Monday.
me it was Music Monday.
I thought I mentioned that.
You mentioned
there's nothing to prepare for. There's nothing. Johnny Lydon likes Trump. What are your thoughts? What do you prepare for that?
Crap. Those are my thoughts.
So, well, let's see if any of this excites you. Ken tweeted this at me. Ken, thank you for sharing this. Here's something to end the day on a little bit of optimism, because this is coming out. The Cure. The Cure is one of my favorite bands. So be gentle, Jennifer.
The Cure. I actually am a fan of The Cure.
All right. So The Cure, Paul McCartney, and more are going to be streaming unseen concert footage, and this is for the Teenage Cancer Trust. The Teenage Cancer Trust, which I'm not actually sure about that organization. I don't know anything about them one way or another.
Yeah.
I just give that disclaimer out there because you never know if something is genuinely doing good or if they're Susan G. Komen. Like you never really know. So if I'm not sure about an organization, I just give that disclaimer. I'm not sure about this organization. I don't know one way or another.
Right.
But Teenage Cancer Trust annual concert series, streaming program featuring unseen live footage from The Cure, Paul McCartney, and more. Now, The Cure is doing 2 different concerts. And this comes out in October. Each stream will air at 3 p.m. Eastern. Muse in 2008, Paul McCartney 2012, Pulp 2012, a Cure show from 2014 on October 14th, and then another one on October 18th. And the full listings are on the Unseen website. So that's teenagecancertrust.org to learn more about those shows and to check them out. Jennifer, do any of those appeal to you?
I would say The Cure. I mean, Disintegration got me through like the end of high school for sure. Like, definitely, I would watch The Cure.
Have you ever seen them?
Maybe. I have not.
You got to see them
live. I think I may have seen them live. No, I don't think I have actually.
So I have seen them 4 times, and the past 2 have been by far the best. I saw them when they did. Do you remember when they did the Curiosa Festival in 04-05?
No.
Okay, so they did a festival.
Curiosa Festival.
It was a festival they were doing where it was basically The Cure just doing an all-day festival with bands that were like Cure adjacent. Like Muse was on it, Thursday was on it, Cursive was on it, and actually, ironically enough, getting to another Music Monday story, Mogwai was on it. And The Cure headlined. I saw them twice during that tour. Oh, you got them both. Man, I'm a little envious.
They're fighting right now. They're gonna, like,
Bound to happen.
Full-on pet brawl is going to take place in a moment on the screen.
They are adorable. You have adorable pets.
Thank you.
I wish Lucy would come hang out, but she's so comfortable and just chilling. I don't want to bother her. But anyway, I saw them twice there. And then I saw them once in 2016 at the Hollywood Bowl. Maybe the best live show I've ever seen in my life.
Really?
And then I saw them, And then I saw them recently, actually right here in my neighborhood in Pasadena. There was this Pasadena Music Festival. They headlined. It was The Cure, the Pixies, and Throwing Muses, and the Deftones. Those were the main acts.
Wow.
Really good festival. And and they crushed it.
Sorry, I had to clear the screen.
No worries.
Related.
Are you a Beatles person?
Oh no, absolutely.
No, you don't like the Beatles?
I mean, whatever. Who cares
What?
about the Beatles? Like,
I do.
Whatever. Strawberry Fields is a good song. That's about it.
That's it.
That's it. That's all. I mean, David Bowie, sure. Yeah, I'll take Bowie any day.
Why do you have to pick? Why do you have to pick between those 2?
I just don't have like an affinity to the Beatles. I feel like they're like, meh.
What beat? Have you listened to everything?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
It's like, I don't care.
Well, you don't have to care, but I mean, there might be some Beatles you really connect with. Like, what all have you listened to?
I mean, it's like I have, those things that you're just like, there is no pull towards this to make. I feel
all right.
There was never like, wow, I should listen to the Beatles.
You didn't go through. All right. So I had a pretty
for
big
not a Beatles phase. No, I never had a Beatles phase. I've had a David Bowie phase, but I haven't had a Beatles phase.
Which is beautiful. I love Bowie.
Maybe you do send me some things.
All right. I'll send you some Beatles stuff and we'll see if you connect with. Here's the thing. For me, it was in high school, I went through a big Who kick where I just freaking loved the Who, which I feel like that makes it, when you're a teenager, they're so like angsty and just so aggressive that it's like I connected with the Who first. As far as, I mean, I like classic rock my whole life because my parents introduced me to it, but I really got on a heavy Who kick as a teenager and really just connected with what they were all about. Then in college, I was a big Stones guy. And I was way more of a Let It Bleed guy than a Let It Be guy. And I was a big Mick Jagger guy. And I love all this stuff. But then later in college, I finally understood the Beatles. And I was like, oh shit, the Beatles. And I'm still that way to this day. Well, still loving all three of those a lot and appreciating them all. But it's like the Beatles, we're still catching up. We're still catching up to what they did in the 60s. For 5 years. I
am the worst Music Monday guest.
You are not. You are not.
So I'm like, I don't give a crap about any of this.
No, you have stuff to say though. You have stuff to say.
I'm joking.
And even not giving a crap is something to say. I mean, even so, I need something. I'd be like, really, Ron? Morrissey's views hurt your feeling?
The Beatles is like,
you're bummed out. I need that.
I don't know about the Beatles. It's like, give me some PJ Harvey any day of the week. I don't know about the Beatles.
You know what?
And you don't like PJ Harvey?
No. I like PJ Harvey a lot. What I was about to say, if you like PJ Harvey, I bet I'm going to send you some John tunes that you may not have heard yet. Okay. And you're going to be like, oh shit.
Okay.
No, wait. Let's bring it all full circle.
We'll see.
Wait, no. Let's bring it all full circle. I'm going to send you some Beatles stuff.
You know what it is? I think I like female voices more than male lead singers. So I think that like I've always been more drawn to female lead singers than male.
Do you like Riot Girl stuff?
Some of it, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Some of it.
L7, Bikini Kill?
Yes.
L7. No, I love that. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
even Early Hole was good. I have to say.
I agree. I'm not a big Courtney Love fan, but
I'm not a big Courtney Love fan, but I have to say, sometimes when you just want to like scream and get your aggression out, Early Hole is good.
I agree. I used to have the biggest crush on the Donnas when I was a kid.
Okay.
I used to love the Donnas, and I had the biggest crush on Donna A. And I would stand in the front row whenever they would come to town. And I liked, who else did I really like? Snapper. Did you ever listen to Snapper?
No.
I was a big Snapper fan. They were an all-girl punk band. I don't think they're around anymore, but they were great. And then, and all the Riot Girl stuff I liked a lot. But here's my proposal. So I'm going to send you some John stuff that you might not have heard yet, or maybe you heard it and you already didn't like it. I don't know, but we're gonna roll the dice here.
And I haven't delved deep. I have never delved deep into the Beatles repertoire.
So if you like it and you're like, you know what, there is a lot to the Beatles, and I'm gonna start to dive in, you have to do a Zoom show.
Then I have to come back and.
Well, hopefully, I hope you'll come back to the show.
Then I have to come back and admit my no. I don't see that happening.
Are we talking? It's a punishment. You have to come. If I'm right, you have to come back on this show, Jennifer.
You have to vote for Biden if you.
No,
that's not a punishment you would make.
No.
It's a punishment we all might participate in, but it's not a punishment you would force on me.
My punishment is the Zoom show. That's my punishment.
Oh, that's your punishment.
What you do in the voting booth is your business. But
I don't know yet. I don't know yet what we're doing.
It's pretty tough. But my punishment. Well, we live in California too, so
that's what they keep saying. That's what they keep saying. I mean,
you think California could possibly go to Trump?
I don't even know anything anymore at this point. I'm like, I don't know what. Or what, I don't know, man. There's some yahoos living in the Orange County, Santa Barbara, and all of these. There's a lot of people.
And they've been there for 40 years. They've been there for 40 years.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm always surprised. Yeah, I mean, California for the most part, yes. But I don't know. I keep telling myself like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm like sounding the alarm, but then they're like, and what's the next step? And then I'm like, I don't fucking know.
You got to understand the Beatles. That's the next step.
Beatles are that's gonna be okay.
If everybody would just understand the Beatles, we'd find peace.
You feel like it?
No, I don't.
That would
of
be.
course
No, I'm just kidding.
I wish it was that easy. I really do. I wish it was that. No, I mean, I don't think it's you're not doing enough, or I think it's that there's no clear answer, because to make it out like, oh, we can just get a different president and everything's just going to be fine, or like, oh, in 4 years we'll get a different president. I mean, it's the White House has the entire federal government has turned its back on the people. Like, there's no disputing that.
I mean, what do you think the fallout, though, could potentially be? Like, are you one of those people who's like, yeah, we're going to end up, there's going to be like mass protesting or violence, or?
I hope there's not going to be violence, at least not any more than there already has been.
Right.
And of course the violence has been mostly by the cops, and unfortunately I don't think that's going to change.
Yeah.
But I do think there needs to be
the National Guard, man.
Right.
Like that could go haywire.
It could go haywire, and we do not have, we the people do not have the power. We just don't. We're not the people with the military might.
I mean, what's happening in Portland and all these other places is craziness, and it's like not being covered. It's not really being like, people have no idea.
Because it's civil unrest. They don't want to cover civil unrest. That threatens the status quo. But I do think it does take protests, and it takes we have to have a general strike. We just have to. And I know that's easier said by done. I'm not trying to like preach to people, because I get it. When you're a paycheck away from going under, and you've been out of work for however many months because of pandemic, and the government has given you a one-time $1,200 go fuck yourself check.
Right.
I get it. That's not easy. So I'm not trying to, but that it needs to happen somehow. I don't know how exactly, but it needs to happen.
Yeah. What is that about? What do you think that's going to look like?
What it should look like is just a bunch of people saying, hey, we're the essential workers, and we ain't doing jack shit until we get unions, until we get living wages, and until we get healthcare, until we have a different society that actually looks out for its people. We ain't doing shit. That's the only solution. I mean, that's it. There's no other option. We can't vote our way out of this thing. We can't.
Is this the fall of this empire? Like, are we on the decline? Like, is this the beginning of the end?
It is, but the fall can be gentle. The fall doesn't have to be brutal. Or
you think slow? It's going to be slow.
It can be slow and gentle. It doesn't have to be brutal. And honestly, the fall is not a bad thing, because what we're doing around the world, and I know I'm really preaching to the choir here, what we're doing around the world is absolutely disgusting and horrifying. Needs to end. It's horrifying. It's time for it to end. It will be so great for the world when the United States is just another country instead of a military empire.
Yeah.
So
I love that you think it's going to be gentle.
I don't think it has to be brutal. I really don't. It doesn't. I mean,
I'm like telling everybody, go friggin' do some gun training and survival skills, man. Like, that's where I'm coming from. I'm like,
do you have a gun?
It'll be awesome if you don't need it, but should you know how to maneuver in those arenas? Maybe.
I don't disagree. I hope it doesn't come down to that, but I don't disagree with that. Yeah, I'm just saying, and when I say it doesn't have to be brutal, what I'm saying, I'm not saying there's not going to be any issue. There already has been, and it's going to continue. I'm not saying we're all going to like get in a circle and play Kumbaya together. Yeah, but I'm saying there is no Kumbaya. But what I am saying is there doesn't have to be a civil war. There doesn't have to be a total decimation. I don't think it has. I think we can avoid that. I don't know if we will.
4 more years of Trump, you think we can avoid that?
Even with 4 more years of Trump, I think that is avoidable. I think we can avoid that. I think we need to realize what power we do have, and it is. I know it seems futile, but there are still a lot of things we can do in our communities. There are still a lot of things we can do as far as alliances are concerned, where we can fight back against big oil. We can fight back against military interests. And that, when everybody is doing that in their community, it adds up. If everyone does something in their backyard, you're going to look at a different country. And there are a lot of things we can do legislatively that we don't even realize because it's not talked about. We can have a people's legislature. That is guaranteed to us in the Declaration of Independence. Mike Gravel wrote a book about it. I had him on last week. We talked about it. So it is not a hopeless thing, nor is it a completely powerless thing, nor is a straight up civil war the only end. We can avoid that stuff. Is it going to be I'm not saying it's going to be a completely gentle water slide down into a new reality, but I'm saying it doesn't have to be brutal.
I mean, it is brutal already, man.
Right.
It's been brutal. It's going to be brutal for a lot of people. I mean, I just am looking down the pike, like what's going to happen when, so, we're saying, okay, businesses are going to be reopening again next year. Like, some industries are going to take longer than others, but how many comedy venues do you think are going to be shut down permanently? How many performance venues, arts venues, music venues? Yeah.
And
there's restaurants. There's just a lot of industries are going to get really decimated. Oh my, come on guys. This is crazy. Sorry.
There's bills out there to help them too, but they're not going anywhere. There's bills out there to help them. There's the Save Our Stages bill. And then there's that I think it's like Restart or something like that. There are these bills to help out these businesses. And some of them are low interest loans, so it's not perfect, but for a lot of restaurants and comedy venues and music venues, it's the difference between still being around next year or not. So they're saying, hey, we'll deal with it. And a lot of it's grants too, so they don't have to pay it back. There are a lot of grants, but not all of it. So, but those bills are still important, but they're not going anywhere.
This is over. I'm sorry. The animals are like, we will not be contained any longer.
They really want your attention. So where can people go to learn more about you?
You can go to my Twitter at Jajeh. I'm on all the Instagrams and even the Facebook still. And I have, I don't know, I think my website, PalestinianComedian.com, is still up. I haven't updated it in a while. With this pandemic, there's nothing going on to update. Yeah, that's where, follow me on Twitter. Find me there.
At Jen Jajeh.
You'll hear all my shit talking at Jen Jajeh. I know, I should have put it in my name.
Well, now you know for next time.
I didn't know. I wasn't in the know. You didn't tell me it was Music Monday. You didn't tell me to put my Twitter handle.
Well, you're getting your news on with Ron. I'm getting
my news on with Ron.
There was no like Ron tells you in advance. That wasn't part of it.
Ron doesn't tell you shit in advance. He was like, show up, talk.
I was like, show up, talk. I've been excited to have you. I told you that. I was like, hey, I want to have you.
I'm excited. You're excited.
Well, and this is our wager. I'm going to send you some John stuff, Beatles, John stuff. If you like it, and I'm hoping you'll come back on the show out of your own free will. I'm hoping you're going to want to come back on the show at some point. But my actual wager here, if you like it, you got to do a Zoom show. That's the wager.
Wow.
Doesn't have to be my Zoom show. It can be any Zoom show you want. You just have to do a Zoom show.
There's no Zoom show I want to do. So
I get it.
We'll do yours.
All right. Well, you're going to do something.
It's not like I'm like, wow, chomping at the bit to do a free Zoom show.
I get it. But that's our wager.
I can't wait to do a Zoom show with 4 audience members and
if you don't like it, you don't have to do a Zoom show, but you got to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So if you're like, Ron, I don't get this. I'm like, all right.
Then
but if you're like,
the
Ron,
bar is high, now.
No, I get it.
I get some of my influences.
And that's why I'm saying.
I feel like now you might have a fighting chance.
I think so too. Based on what you've told me, yeah, there's some John stuff you're going to connect with. I really do believe that. And when you do, you got to do a Zoom show. And if you don't, all right, you didn't. I tried.
Okay. All right.
At Jen Jajeh on Twitter. Check it out, y'all. Guys, we will be back on Wednesday. We're not going to be back tomorrow because I'm doing a Zoom event with Central Michigan University, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be on Zoom. Jennifer's going to be there. But guys, we'll be back on Wednesday. Tina Desiree is going to be on the show. and she's been covering a lot of protests, so we're going to have a lot to talk to her about. In the meantime, you know the drill. Check out Jen Jajeh on Twitter. Check it out. Follow her. And you know the drill. Lucy says meow. I say peace. Peace.